Freddie Clark. When I told my brother Seb we'd be stopping by at a party that night, I might have intentionally withheld some details. It was his first day in Los Angeles, so the name Thomas Broadbeck meant little to him. There wasn't any reason why Sebastian O'Shaughnessy, darling of the New York literati, should have any idea who the FWM studio chief was, or even what a studio chief did. As soon as I began listing the names of actors and actresses, though, Seb understood. "We won't have to stay long?" he asked. "An hour at the most. Not even that," I said. I told him we had to say hello to Broadbeck and congratulate Charles and Nell on their pretend engagement. Public appearances like these were part of my contract with the studio. I had convinced Seb to move to Hollywood on the pretense that I was a moderately successful actress who could land him a job screenwriting. The thing is, I really was a moderately successful actress who could land him a job screenwriting. My only omission to my brother was that I had only 3 months left on my contract, and FWM Studios didn't renew contracts for moderately successful actresses. "Anyway, you have to talk to Augustin," I said as I poured each of us a glass of whiskey, mine on the rocks, his straight. "I don't know who that is." "You'll love him," I lied. "He runs all the things at FWM that no one else has the time to run. I already told him you'd be there. He's excited to meet you. I'm certain he can get you a job." As I began going up the stairs to change into my dress, Seb demanded that I wait a goddamn minute. Seb still had a heavy accent from our years growing up in Boston. His voice went up as he spoke to me, and for a moment I saw the young boy he had once been, the lanky awkwardness of his posture and the redness in his pale cheeks. Though we regularly wrote each other, I hadn't seen him in person for a long time. Between the two of us, I was the one who could afford to travel, and I hadn't left California since the early 30s. I'd talked about it in my letters to him, swearing that I'd take the time off to visit, but the time off never came. "You told me I already had a job," he said. I shook my head and pursed my lips. I wouldn't have said that. Seb went over to his worn-down briefcase by the front door and began rummaging through it. He produced a handwritten letter. He went over to the couch and smoothed the letter out on the coffee table. I watched as he bent over it, carefully running his finger along each line. "There," he said, pointing to the letter. "In your own words, 1 week ago, if you come to Hollywood, you'll have a job." I nodded and leaned against the banister. "Yes, you will have a job. Look at you. College graduate. 1 novel published already. You're very employable. That's why we're going to the party." "I took out my savings to come here, Edie," he said. "I got rid of everything I had." "And I'm sure the mattress that lived on your floor is happy to begin anew in a dumpster somewhere." I looked at Seb sitting in my living room, his red hair standing on end and his shirt wrinkled. He'd arrived from the train station only a few hours earlier. "I don't suppose you have a suit?" I asked. Seb was not amused when I came down the stairs 15 minutes later in a gown. The gown was on loan from a friend in the FWM costuming department. It was intended to be worn by Carla Longworth in an upcoming romantic drama, but she'd rejected the fabric choice, said the tulle made her look too wide. I wasn't sure how the tulle made me look, and frankly, I didn't care. It wasn't as though I was in the running to be the most beautiful woman at the party. Anyone from the studio would be able to identify the dress for what it was, but I could see Seb doing mental calculations of its worth. That's how it had always been with me and Seb. After a childhood of scarcity, we could never stop appraising what was in front of us. Even if I had told Seb the gown wasn't mine, he still would have resented me for making him go to a party underdressed. He spent the entire car ride over picking at his sleeves and smoothing out his trousers. "Trust me," I said. "They'll think it's very New York of you. That kind of credibility gets people jobs." "Humiliating is what it is." "Well, I'd hate for you to discover the kinds of get-ups actresses have to wear to be employed here." When we pulled up in front of the Bel Air mansion, Seb refused to get